Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
And welcome to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Richard Franzi. This is podcast episode number 1190, and I think we have a good show planned for you today. To truly understand the value of a company, your company, you have to not only look at the brand, but also the heart behind your firm. Milestone Risk Management helps to deliver risk management solutions and group benefits. And so I've asked John Hoefer to join us to share more about his firm and the impact they're having on the community. John, welcome to Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast.
Thank you, Rick. Good afternoon.
It's good to be here, isn't it? All right. Well, let's start with you telling us a little bit about your firm, kind of what makes it unique from others in your industry, especially in the minds of your clients and your prospects, John Hoefer.
Sure. So the differentiator we have can be encapsulated in our four compelling reasons.
Okay.
And especially as you experienced last Friday, the fourth compelling reason is that we help our clients grow through education primarily, as you experienced last week at the Dave Nelson talk on growth and innovation in your company. So we put on great educational programs for our companies on a leadership level, like we have the Milestones and Leadership Summit coming up in May with Jocko Willink.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Absolutely.
All right.
And growth and innovation, and then also tactical classes for our clients that more relate to insurance. For instance, we have a workers' compensation for HR professionals class, 4-part series coming up. We have classes we put on for our contractors that go over the types of contracts they sign, what they mean, how that relates to insurance certificates. So in insurance education and leadership education and company education to help our clients grow is critical to us. And that also helps improve our clients' internal processes.
Sure.
The other, I'd say, secret sauce that we do is showcase our clients to the insurance carriers. So as we've discussed before, we specialize in clients on the property and casualty side with premiums of, say $100,000 to $1 million a year, which is in a space that really gets the attention of the insurance carrier.
Okay.
And also is actually still ignored by, say, the Aons and the Willises of the world that are
upstream a little bit more?
Upstream with, say, 1,000 life clients.
Okay.
So 50 to 300 employee businesses are our sweet spot because we can really help their internal administration staff with all the processes of workers' compensation, the technology that goes with benefit administration, and what the CFO needs to do with the contracts that they write to help grow their business and how they relate to insurance. So it's the education and it's the showcasing to the insurance carriers to really bring premiums down and also improving their internal processes. That makes us much different.
That's interesting because that leads me to my next question that I wanted to ask you, which is the niche within which you find the clients value your services and your approach.
Sure.
Describe the type of psychographic or demographic of the ideal client for your firm.
Sure. So the ideal client for us is... So we do have some verticals. It's like the craft brewing business, which is a great.
Love that.
That's a great business to be in.
That industry
it's been blowing up the last 8-10 years, and so that's a great business to be in, and because we can really help the breweries as they grow. We understand all the growing pains they go through from 2-3 people all the way up to growing to 100, 200 employees.
I have to imagine they're relatively common. They may have uniqueness in their model, but the basic business model is pretty common between these microbreweries,
and the differentiators between them are still fairly common, where it comes to like sour aging beer and barrel aging beer. So it is unique, but when we've done insured 20 of them, it's you've
kind of seen it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
and so
that's a hard niche.
That's a hard niche. On the broader niche, it's really people companies that need workers' compensation assistance. Workers' compensation is extremely expensive in California. If the company is competing versus other companies in other states, it is a competitive edge their competitors have.
Right.
And
the lower cost
of
not being in California.
of not being in California. So properly managing workers' compensation the claims, the hiring process, the incident investigation when a injury happens, and really caring for the employees as they go through the workers' compensation process to get back to work, and then also aggressively pursuing those that are working the system.
Okay.
That is a great help to clients with 50 to 300 or more employees.
But I have to imagine, I'm sorry, John, but I'm talking with John Hoefer, and I have to imagine it is that focus on cost containment, but it's coupled with a desire for education. You talk about your events, like I attended last Friday, which was an international speaker that you brought to town who shared content that he's given on stages all over the world. So that was an exceptional experience. Plus, it has to be people, I would think, John, tell me if I'm right, who care about the culture and the employees too. It's not just I'm trying to manage that cost, but I'm actually trying to put things into place that is avoiding risks because it's the right thing to do for the employees.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
That's entirely true.
Okay.
Yeah, the internal culture of the company, which includes safety, is critical to a well-managed workers' compensation and a well-respected business and group benefits program.
Right.
And so helping the employees and educating the employees internally with safety as well is critical.
Right. And I would have to tell me, I'm putting words in your mouth. Stop me if I'm wrong. But when you present your prospect or client to the insurers, they kind of know the kind of people you do business with as well.
Absolutely. So the insurance carriers, like you said, know who we do business with because we work with companies that believe culture is critical and that maintaining that culture is of utmost importance. And workplace injuries and great benefits is one important piece that we touch that can help improve and maintain the company culture, as well as helping implement safety practices and other technology on the benefit side that helps communicate the value of benefits to their employees. Absolutely.
Because there are, if it's the culture of safety and employee value, and even if you're in an industry like roofers, because I know that you work with roofers who are some of the highest rated, hardest to get covered companies there are, right? They can build a very safe environment with a great culture.
Absolutely.
If the leadership believes this is something that's worth doing, not just, we're going to do it now that it's time to try to get, we had a bad incident, so we better do something so that our mod goes down next year.
And if the leadership believes it and they can communicate it, they are the perfect person to get in front of the insurance carrier.
Okay. Oh, wow.
To help lower their costs. So when we talk about verticals, in the entire spectrum of all the companies in that vertical, it's really the top 10 to 20% in terms of culture and safety who really want to get in front of that insurance carrier.
Okay. Because they have a story to tell.
They have a story to tell. They tell the story of their company, where they've been, how they've gotten there, what they're working on, what's gone wrong that they've learned from, because everyone has that.
Oh, my God.
And that's where the insurance carrier, who generally consists of the underwriter and the underwriter's boss and the head of that, the region for that carrier, and the loss control come in, and then they explain to the company where they can assist them with their initiatives. But it's about the client, not the carrier.
Right.
And once that showcasing, as we call it, ends, the insurance
so there's a name for it.
Yeah, the
showcasing.
The showcasing. Once that ends,
Hollywood.
The carrier generally walks outside, and the manager of that group turns to the underwriter and says, "I want this account."
Okay.
And that's when pricing plummets, because they see an account that has great culture, that works hard to maintain it, that maintains a safe environment, and is always on top of what they need to do as a company to get better. Carriers want a long-term partnership with that company. So
if you're listening here as a CEO or business owner of a company, you just heard there's no shortcut to getting the best premiums. You really have to walk the talk.
You have to do it.
Right. And the industry's smart enough to recognize the ones who are just puffing versus the ones who live it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Especially since so much what the underwriter sees is just paper, or now it's just on a screen. It's when you bring the carrier in,
right,
that they can see it, and that's when the results happen.
Wow, awesome. Speaking of something going wrong, I'm wondering if there was a time in your career where maybe you failed, or something that you were working at wasn't quite what you wanted it to be? And if you had an event like that, because I believe in the power of peer learning here,
absolutely.
Could you share one, John Hoefer, for our audience?
Sure.
Thank you.
As I made my way in insurance through personal lines and small commercial, it was literally the first policy for a large client, my first large client.
Oh, my gosh.
That we had already done a great job with the showcasing and with a gap analysis for the client. And I noticed that the application, it was for an employment practice, and this is a business that had a lot of independent contractors, like well over 1,000. And I noticed something on the application that wasn't just right, but I was working with, also more superior people, higher people in our organization and at the carrier who came in. And I figured, you know what, it'll be caught and discussed. And then it wasn't. And so what I learned there is when you're in charge, you're in charge, no matter how junior you are. And secondly, mistakes happen, and when people are honest and admit the mistake, talk to the carrier, talk to the client, and make it right. When you make it right, everything works out.
Right.
And the client, it brought us closer to the client actually and the carrier, and we got the right coverage, and everything worked out great. But it's an attention to absolute detail in the very beginning.
Right.
Accepting responsibility when things go wrong.
Yes.
Making it right, being transparent, and that's all you need to do in business from day one to the end.
That's a teachable moment here on Critical Mass Radio Show. Do we have the gong?
Don't be too embarrassed.
Loyal
to
listeners
admit
know.
your mistakes.
Right.
And make them right.
And I think I'm waiting for the gong. Okay. I think the lesson that I learned. So our loyal listeners know when you hear the gong that you want to go back about 30 seconds, maybe a minute this time, and you pick up the teachable moment that John Hoefer just gave us. But to rephrase it, what I think I heard from you as well is it's not the deed that maybe went wrong. It's how you address it in the minds of the customer.
Absolutely.
Because your silver lining is it actually built a
More
better
trust.
Relationship, a
Absolutely.
better trust, because of bad news doesn't get better with age.
It does. That is a great phrase. It most certainly does not.
So as soon as you know it and you have your facts straight,
you get ahead of it.
Because the worst thing is when the client goes, "How long have you known this? And why didn't you tell me that sooner?"
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, you say, "Well, I had to do," but if you didn't
You
sit
can't
on
try
it,
to solve it behind closed doors
Right.
and then hope it all comes out
Right,
okay.
right.
You got to involve everyone in the process.
all right. See that? I knew it. I knew we were going to have a good show here on Critical Mass Radio Show and podcast with John Hoefer, who is the president.
Yes.
Milestone Risk Management. So I wrote a book on unintended consequences. I'm fascinated about unintended consequences. Not every show we discuss them, but I always want to give a guest the opportunity. If you can think of a time you made a decision and the outcome was counter to what you had anticipated,
Well,
if you have
that was a perfect
that is it.
example.
Okay.
That was the perfect example of getting ahead of it and having it bring us closer.
Okay, so let's talk about the event that you have coming up later this year, because
Sure.
I know this is a marquee event for here in Southern
Absolutely.
California. So set the context for what
Sure. So this is an all-day event with one speaker, actually Jocko Willink, who is the former head of training for Western United States for all Naval SEALs. He's a veteran of the Naval SEALs for 20 years. He has written 3 books. The first one called Extreme Ownership. Second one was called Discipline Equals Freedom.
Okay.
And the third one that just came out was The Dichotomy of Leadership. He has a very popular podcast as well.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he is a fantastic speaker who cuts through the you-know-what to get down to how to lead, how to organize a team, and how to effectively execute your initiatives both personally and professionally. And we are thrilled to have him this year. And that is on May 17th at the Hyatt in Huntington Beach. And this is a marquee event that we put on every year. And actually, as of today, we just secured Daniel Pink for 2020.
Wow.
So that
Hey, bring it up
Thank you.
here. That's
Thank you.
awesome. He's a great
speaker, and we're
But
really
these are
looking
two
forward.
very high-profile
speakers.
main stage kind of speakers that you
Absolutely.
bring in. Who gets invited to attend this type of an event?
Sure. So we have co-hosts and sponsors who invite their clients. So say like Littler Mendelsohn is a co-host. PTS Advance, which is a staffing company, We have banks like American Business Bank
Mm-hmm.
who bring their clients, and we bring our clients as well.
Okay.
So it is a team event for, and this is a great topic for peer learning here.
Yes.
It is, you bring two or more people from your leadership team at your company. People buy half tables, full tables,
Okay.
so that the message of the speaker is heard by the entire leadership team.
Right.
Everyone takes it a bit differently,
Mm-hmm.
but it's those differences which really make a rich conversation.
Sure.
And it's the event's on a Friday. On Monday, they have actual items that they've all heard
Okay.
and all worked on, because it is a workshop. Work is done during the day. It's not just listening.
Sure.
All four
So this is an all-day
segments,
event?
all-day event. From registration starts at 7, show starts at 8, goes until 5.
Wow.
And then there's a cocktail hour for
you
networking.
need that on a
at
Friday,
6:30.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And how many years have you done this?
We've done this since 2002.
Okay. And what was, do you recall back in 2001 when you started
Sure.
to plan it? Why?
So the CEO, Ron Hoefer, my father, started it back then, and he wanted to give an education event about leadership and what seemed to be lacking very in the business world. And actually, since then, leadership has become a very big topic, and has been for
Right.
that was
I
the
think with the-
genesis of a lot of.
But with the
books.
millennials entering the workforce, there's more expectations of the leader than
Absolutely.
there's ever been.
Absolutely.
In a healthy way, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very dynamic between, I'd say that the generations are very different
Yes.
now.
Yes.
And a lot of that is the differences in the knowledge of technology and different ways of interfacing are completely different between.
I agree. So having a Navy SEAL instructor coming, one must expect that he has stories that he's going to be
Absolutely,
sharing.
yeah.
We have this image. When you say Navy SEAL, I have an image. I'm sure
Absolutely. we all
I'm
do.
sure the audience, as they're listening to this, you get a mental image of a Navy SEAL,
Mhm.
right?
And that's why his book, Extreme Ownership, is so great. And I think it's 14, 15 chapters. Every
Uh-huh.
chapter starts with a story from typically when he was in Ramadi, and the lesson learned, and then an application to business.
Mm.
And so it makes a really fascinating read, because you're not going to hear stories like that everywhere.
Right.
There's only so many people can tell them.
Right.
And then only so many people can really explain and apply them to business the way he can.
Right.
So it's going to be a fantastic day.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, over the generations, people have used military analogies to help with business,
Absolutely.
right? Here's a
Mhm.
real-world leabuildership example. So he's focusing on the leadership aspect of
Exactly.
the engagement.
Leadership and teamwork.
Teamwork.
Mhm.
Yes.
Building and maintaining
And
a
when was
dynamic
this again?
team.
When is it going to be?
Friday, May 17th
Okay.
at the Huntington Beach Hyatt.
All right, so we're gonna give your website out here in about 2 minutes, and
Sure.
through that website, will people be able to find out more about the event eventually?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so hold on, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get there, I need to ask you my guiding principle question. So let me
Sure.
set it up. Can you share your core philosophy that you're using to build the culture of your company?
Absolutely. We are a professional service firm, and people is number one, and number two. How people assist our clients, how they feel about their job, understanding where they're going in their career, and that milestone is a great place to continue and grow.
Mm-hmm.
That is when we take care of our people, that is when our clients get well taken care of. And it's on all aspects, whether that is the financial aspect, and that's also on the benefits, and that is on the internal camaraderie and culture. That is how we treat each other,
Right.
and it's also the education we do internally to make sure that we are always on top of our game, and that we are of best use and value to our clients.
Has this been consistent over the arc of the company's existence? Is this something that you,
It's
as the
something
president?
we have consistently strived for.
Okay.
Like everything, it has its up and downs.
Right.
But it is something we're constantly paying attention to and making sure we improve.
Okay, now my final question, or my second to final question, actually, because I think I have, my engineer getting time to ask you one more. I'm going to have you back on the show in a year or 2 or 3. What's going to be different about Milestone Risk Management? Where are you going? What's your vision for the future? Without any I don't want any confidential stuff.
Sure.
But just what are you thinking about?
So we have heavy investment into marketing right now, especially with the Leadership Summit and other education initiatives we're doing in the community, and we hope that and believe it will spur growth at Milestone. We are adding people on a consistent basis, and we're looking to grow and spread the message and the education of leadership and culture in companies, and continue for the next year or 2 or 3 or 4 until we talk again.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. More of what you're doing.
More of what we're doing.
Deeper with
Absolutely.
additional clients.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so if someone's interested in Leadership Summit or they want to know more about Milestone Risk Management, how do they find you online?
Sure. So to see more about the Leadership Summit, it's at milestonesinleadership.com. And to find out more about Milestone Risk Management, go to milestonepromise.com.
What's the promise?
Our motto is we protect the promises you make. So we protect
to
the
the
promises that CEOs and owners make to their employees and to their own family.
Wow.
And that's what we protect.
Oh, that's deep. I
Thank
love
you.
that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being a part of the Critical Mass community, a friend
you,
of the
Rich.
show, and giving a little bit of your time to share your knowledge
Absolutely.
with our
Thank you for
audience.
having me on.
It's a blast.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to thank also our engineer for today's show, none other than Mr. Paul Roberts, our 3 producers without whom I couldn't do this show each week, and they are Joan Park, Crystal Nunley, and Haley Stern. If you'd like to connect with me, let's start on LinkedIn. I'm Richard Franzi, Franzi. And until our next show, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.
You have been listening to Critical Mass Radio Show Business Talk Show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.